Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 498. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, ready to roll into the new election year.
Wow, we ripped that Band-Aid off. I would have worn, I got a Harris Wall shirt last week. I was going to wear it, but then I thought, you know what? Why bother? Anybody watching this, they've already voted. But
I don't care who you vote for. I just want people to stop saying, I'm undecided, because being undecided means you're a moron or you don't care. Sorry. I hate that.
I highly doubt that there's anyone who listens to us who would support the person we're talking about. So it's no big deal. But anyway, happy Monday. We're recording a little bit later because of life, but you're getting this right on Tuesday, and we're glad to have you. We have a fun show as always. We're gonna be fulfilling our promise from last week, which is talking about Venom. Which, Todd, it's been like 2 weeks, man. I don't know how much of the movie I remember, but you know what? We'll approach this one with the same zeal.
Thank goodness there's a plot guide in IMDb.
We'll approach this with the same zest that we did when we talked about Fast and Furious 9 or whatever, summer of last year. Because there's about that much plot.
I've wrote a thesis about Venom the Last Dance, Charlie.
I was going to say, is your thesis feces? Feces. Anyway, all right, but we're going to get into that in the news and all that kind of fun stuff. But first and foremost, paying homage to the wonderful folks who support us over on patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, the only spot in the world for great exclusive Secret Friends Unite content, early shows, ad-free shows, and just dropped just yesterday our exclusive interview. Oh, it's not exclusive, but it was exclusive to us. Interview with legendary Simpsons showrunner and great overall guy, Michigan guy, Al Jean. That Todd and I had just an absolutely fantastic time talking to the guy. So you'll get that kind of stuff first on Patreon, though we it's hard to sit on it forever. But if you want to hear it soon, you got to tune into that Patreon, which you can do for 7 days for free, and then as little as $2 a month. $2 a month, Todd. We did the math on a Starbucks. My pumpkin spice latte. I'm going to Starbucks again tomorrow to have a meeting. $6 for a pumpkin spice latte. $2 a month to listen to our great content. It's a no-brainer. It makes we'll make it part of the new economic plan for the United States moving forward. $2 a month for SFU. Just like these fine folks right here, my buddy Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude, Francie, my wife's awesome hairdresser, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass and friend of the show, Luke Lohr, great contributor, and my awesome Uncle Tim. Thank you all. John Sedorf, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, Kelly and Crayley, Brendan Myers, Corey and HD, Matthew Keel, and the folks with not, that would be the awesome Nias family of the Twin Cities. Sean, Stella, and Henry, we are very grateful for all that you do for us. Again, if you're listening to this, want to find out what all the fuss is about, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. 7 days for free, $2 a month to get signed up. Why haven't you done it right now? I don't know, but look into your heart. Anyway, Todd, Journey into Mystery. This is your boy Thor. Now, this would have been a very early issue of this because Journey into Mystery it wasn't that one of those comics that it had numbering and it hit 100 and then it became Thor. Like Thor started with 100. So this would have been one of the last issues of this, right?
And his first appearance was in
83.
So, this is only 10 issues of Thor, essentially.
His character, right?
So it basically, that was, amazing. There was Amazing Fantasy with Spider-Man. There were a lot of issues. Yeah. I think even Iron Man was like Tales of Suspense.
No, I feel like that one. This is this is Journey and Mystery. No, I feel like Iron Man, because that comic started in about 1968. I think it started with a regular number one, but like
Tales of Suspense was number one, was his first appearance. Tales of Suspense number 39 for Iron Man. Number 39 was his first appearance. So a lot of characters just showed up in existing books that Marvel said, okay,
Well, we'll change the name because that's what people want to read. Like Captain America's title started with issue 100. It's probably one of the ones I got on my wall around here somewhere because I have that poster book, which I think is right behind me. But anyway, so we have Thor swinging his hammer with it looks like quite a crick in his neck. Think you have troubles? Question mark. Probably. Wait till you see what happens to Thor when he meets the human cobra. If you're looking at it on YouTube. Even a thunder god cannot match my great power, as you are about to learn. Also, Tales of Asgard, Odin battles the ice giants. Well, that's obviously that's burying the lead right there. So, question about the human cobra, because there's a cobra who is a Spider-Man villain. He's in that Serpent Society, which is going to be kind of the focus of the upcoming Captain America: Brave New World movie in February.
The first
Same character
appearance of Cobra.
There
Yeah.
you go. Gotcha.
First appearance, main story in flashback.
Yeah.
He's a doctor in India that decides to experiment with Cobra venom. He kills a dude, and then it transfers him, gives him some abilities, and that's where basically he decides he needs to then create more serum to create more.
Of course.
Cobra people. But really, this issue, the big part was Thor was upset because Jane.
Jane
Was seeing another doctor behind Thor's back, Dr. Bruce Andrews. And Thor was not happy about that. Yeah.
So I'm going to say Cobra's appearance is largely unchanged in later appearances, except for he doesn't wear a fancy romper / blouse, whatever this thing is he's wearing, and a belt. So this is really, it's kind of like a cross between a supervillain and Donna Reed. I don't know, just to take a stab. It's a weird combo.
Yeah, it's very odd, especially when you look at the cover. I mean, the way he's like crawling down the building and puts his hands out, it's like, rawr. It's very not very menacing, maybe off-putting more so than menacing.
Speaking back to Al Jean from The Simpsons, the campy version of Radioactive Man and Fallout Boy, which was a la Batman 66, where they faced the Scoutmaster. Yeah, the Scoutmaster. Yeah. Get him, boys. Dun, 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 dun.
It's so weird because you think about like Thor, he's unstoppable and everything. Right. Like, I'm taking on Cobra. I mean, it just became like,
it kind of seems like he gets like whoever comes along, right?
What to do with Thor along. And here's a villain we created for you, and is he really a match? Don't know. Probably Thor was just basically cocky, and he kind of took everyone for granted, and then things happened.
I mean, he'd bonk him with a hammer and be over. But Stan Lee obviously, assuming, because really his style is all over it, even the cover really stretched it out to make us think that it was going to be a match worthy of Thor's time. Well, regardless, what a classic from 1963. Moving right along, somebody, of course, I think the real writer of this book was probably our senior news correspondent. She did a lot of pickup work, a lot of punch-ups of the work that you saw at Marvel back at that time. But I am, of course, talking about Madam Web at 120, almost 5 years. Her birthday coming up in 2 months. 125 years young, 124 years young. Down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, waiting to give us the latest news with Madam Web's Rumors and News. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Web's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Web. Madam Web, I believe you are running for office this year. And apparently the role of comptroller of the garbage workers of North Haverbrook is available. You're going to run for it, and you've promised only to skim 5% off the top,
as opposed to the current 9% of the current.
Well, 10% is the kind of, if you looked at like how many people like get in trouble, it's like 10%. So she's going to only do 5%. So she's being upfront,
Yeah. Those aren't real Ron Blagojevich numbers, that's for sure. Crooked governors, crooked governors of Illinois for 100, Alex. All right. Well, first and foremost, we have a big loss in the fan community on the art side, but not comic art per se, but legendary Star Wars artist. Now, I don't believe it's the poster that I have, which is off screen here. Greg Hildebrandt. left us this week. Now he did give us, as I said, very iconic one of the one shooters for 1977 Star Wars. But Todd, the resume for this guy goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I never really I associated him somewhat with Star Wars, but not like exclusively. Because I remember as a kid growing up, my friend Wayne Wilcox, his dad had a really cool Hildebrandt print of Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, that's really cool. And I'm like, who's this artist? And then you also saw him do a lot of the Marvel art on cards. So he did a big run of Marvel cards back in the day. He did the poster for Clash of the Titans, and one of my favorites, though, he did a collection of. It was basically Greg Hilbrandt's fairy tales. They put it here, but he also did like Grimm's fairy tales, where they did illustrations of classic fairy tales. I remember having that book. It was gifted to me by my Aunt Marilyn, and I loved it. The illustrations were amazing, hardbound. It was really a collector's piece. Lost along the way, refound it later in life, and actually this one was signed, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, he kind of reminds me of the other classic artist, who did a lot of the other art. Blanking his name, does a lot of the posters for like Indiana Jones and
No, I'm blanking on it too. I was the other sketcher I was thinking of would be Ralph McQuarrie, but he's more of a concept artist on the Star Wars
no,
side.
this is the guy that he's famous for primarily doing movie posters. And he's done Star Wars, Indiana Jones.
I mean, I have
big,
the what I think you can see on the corner. I have the kind of the Gone with the Wind, Empire Strikes Back that now Chewbacca's in front of, since I moved some stuff around, but has always been a favorite of mine. But it's kind of in that sound, probably the same as the Return of the Jedi poster I have right there. Who is it? Who is
here
it?
it is. Here it is. It's Drew Struzan. You know him.
There you
He
go. Yes.
I mean, he does that Alex, well, he's even better than Alex Ross in a lot of ways, where it's like, it's so photorealistic. His art is amazing where, he captures their appearance.
Like I said,
Yeah.
that one right there. That
yeah.
was my absolute favorite of all time. That kind of the Gone with the Wind with Han and Leia. But yeah, getting off the topic, because supposed to be talking about Hildebrandt. I have to say this Clash of the Titans poster, I don't know that was the one sheeter that I've ever seen before, but damned if it isn't gorgeous. And it's got kind of a Star Wars vibe to it, with Medusa in the back, Pegasus in the foreground, Harry Hamlin, and the chick who went on to not have a career at all. So much so that I can't even remember her name, but she was it Andromeda? I love that movie.
Bloom.
I absolutely love that movie. God, now I want to go watch that movie. It's an absolute classic. But yeah, as we're finding with a lot of this stuff, we seem to be having a bad run in the last couple of years in particular, where all of these big legends of for us Gen Xer kids are reaching their Waterloo. It happens, but leaving us a great body of work that is easily accessible, which is a big plus too. But
yeah, and he's part of a brother team. Greg and Tim, they did some things together, some things they did separately, and some of the things he also worked on. Terry Brooks' sort of Shannara books, I remember those. He also worked on some classic comic book covers, and like I said, the cards. He did cards for the Magic the Gathering. He did cards for there were some other ones. I think it was Marvel Overpower, and then some basically those collector cards you got like in the 90s when you go to the comic book shop, which were pretty fantastic. So
they do. I know
we are going to have more of these, Charlie. We're going to have more of these deaths based on Charlie, because we're old now. I know. They were older when we were,
and they're much older. They're all in their 70s and 80s. So it's just what's going to happen. But R.I.P. to Hildebrandt. Now, is the Tim, the brother, is he still alive?
He passed away first. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, that is a shame. Well, our hearts go out definitely to the families of those two gentlemen, and their work will be there to enjoy for the eternity. So, all right, turning the lens to the future, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You've heard of it. You like it. You hate it. We watched because we're getting closer to the end of our voyage. Getting ready for 2025, which will be, more MCU films. And we watched Wakanda Forever last night. Almost 3 hours I did not remember that it was that long. And I, much like the other post Endgame films, I'm finding I'm enjoying it more. Except Quantum Mania, I still hated. But I thought this was a little bit more interesting in a rewatch. To be honest with you, like I mean, I even found Eternals more interesting than this. But anyway, we've got a lot of stuff.
It's good to hear.
We got a lot of stuff coming up. We did get a kind of a sizzle reel for a lot of the 2025 projects, including Ironheart, Rory Williams, who was a character in the movie that I was just talking about, a new animated property for Spider-Man, very exciting for me. The much anticipated return of Daredevil, and I should say the bringing of the characters from those Netflix shows into the MCU, though Charlie Cox as Daredevil has already had several appearances in the MCU. The return of What If, which I'm a huge fan of the animated What If. They keep throwing Deadpool and Wolverine in there as if it hasn't already come out, but it's featured very prominently because it is finally dropping on Disney Plus. Which I know my friend Derek, who has small kids, is
it's
like,
called
yeah.
Please subscribe now. Don't wait
Yeah.
till the new stuff comes out.
Exactly. You know, my friend Derek, who has small kids, is like, yeah, I never got around to seeing it, but I'm dying to see it. And I'm like, when's it coming to Disney Plus? And I'm like, oh, so sad. Go to the theater. And then an animated project about Wakanda, about the Black Panther world. And then not super sure how I'm feeling about one of my favorite characters, Simon Williams' as Wonder Man, coming, which will be this time next year. It looks kind of weird. I was excited to see in the sizzle reel that Trevor Slattery, the character played by the great Ben Kingsley, will be the sidekick to Wonder Man and the actors in Hollywood. I don't know. It's kind of a weird take, but I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, let's
I don't
talk
know
about
how else
this.
you do that character, Charlie, because the character in the comic is going to be doesn't fit in the MCU. Because quite honestly, he has no connection to reality in the MCU.
Well, the character,
Because what is he going to absorb? Venom's identity, or Vision's going to take his personality, which we've never been introduced this character for.
I mean, that's
right?
that's a part of the character, but the whole him being an actor and all this, that was the latter half of
well, that's what we have here. We have a character being an actor. Quite honestly, right. It seems like it fits, right?
Well, they're glomming onto that part of it. It's not really how the character started out, but regardless, we shall see. But anyway, let's walk.
Because the MCU is really good about doing that, right?
Right, bringing in the villain and killing him off.
Exactly.
It looks like this. Now we're following a link from Den of Geek. They're starting out by talking about the next Marvel film, which we're getting in about a month from now. The latest rattle of the Spumco. In a recent episode of the Bad Trip to the Movies Patreon that April and I do, we talked about Morbius again. Still not as bad as Madam Web. But Todd, what are your thoughts on Kraven?
This article from Den of Geek, we do get a close up of the snapshot of the Rhino for the first time. I'm like, that's an interesting take. So are we getting like mutant men? I don't know.
I mean, he kind of looks like the Scarecrow, to be honest. It looks like a character from Wizard of Oz. It does kind of give me a Scarecrow
really?
vibe. I don't know.
If anything, he's giving me a Cowardly Lion vibe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe you squish the two of them together in like Play-Doh. It's gray.
I don't know who's playing him. But I mean, this movie is R-rated, which is odd, very violent. So once again, I don't know how this one fits in. I mean, this movie will probably be kind of status quo with the rest of the Sony live action films, which are going to be dumb action films.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, I don't know that I do like the main character. I mean, I do like the fact of Kraven being a hunter. He's Russian. It's kind of goofy. It kind of fits this anyways. And Spider-Man not being this, I don't know if the last Spider-Man game that came out, Kraven was a part of it, and he was hunting heroes, essentially people in the Spider universe. So sure, not having Spider-Man kind of sucks, but I at this point I'm like,
it's kind of too late, isn't it? They couldn't really put him in. It would be weird.
How do you plug Spider-Man into this type of universe? It doesn't work. I'm glad he's not involved with this stuff, Charlie. Let's be honest.
Because the films are terrible, and you wouldn't want to stick
stick
Tom Holland in there and get that stink on him. I don't think so. Obviously, you and I will probably see this. I mean, the only genre film I've avoided in recent years was Joker 2. We mostly see everything else, you and I, and we end up talking about it. You know what I mean? Or was there something else we skipped in this last year that we were like, no, we just can't even. I can't remember.
I don't know. I mean, I probably would have seen Joker. It just wasn't. Just so much of stuff was happening. I didn't see it. But I mean, it's coming to Max. I'll see it then.
I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, we saw Madam Web and we had a lot of fun talking about that. But anyway, that is out on December 13th. But just in time for Christmas will be the third season of What If over on Disney Plus. This was actually teased almost immediately as season 2 ended 12 months prior. So that they did the 12 Days of Christmas with that one, which I saw people bitching about it after that, like, oh, that's a terrible way to release it because people just didn't know. It's streaming. It doesn't matter. If somebody watches episode 1, they're going to watch the whole thing if they like it. Because it just
if plays. You think it's weekly, guess what? When you show up, the rest will be out.
You're right. However many weeks it takes you to watch it.
How does this happen? I'm so upset that they're all there now.
I know, it's terrible.
I don't know.
But we got,
is this? I don't know how they're releasing it this time.
Yeah,
Shang-Chi is going to be involved, and then we're also going to get.
Oscar Isaac is the Moon Knight, which is cool.
For Moon Knight, yeah. So we'll see. And Matthew Chauncey replaces AC Bradley as head writer with Brian Andrews directing. I mean, I don't know if this is supposed to all come together. I guess it will, but will it just be a fun take?
Yeah.
I mean, it's What If, so nothing sticks. And if they find something they like, they can pull it in if they want. And don't be surprised if it happens.
Exactly correct. So anyway, then we get into 2025, and as I had mentioned, a new animated program around Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, at the end of January, originally titled Spider-Man Freshman Year, so you've heard us talk about it in the past. Spidey is being voiced by Hudson Thames, or Thames if you prefer, who is not someone that I am familiar with. But Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio will join as Daredevil and the Kingpin, respectively, alongside with Coleman Domingo as Norman Osborn. Awesome. I love Coleman Domingo. He's from Fear the Walking Dead. And Hugh Dancy, which sounds very familiar to me, as Otto Octavius. Produced and written by Jeff Trammell, the series will use the flashy animation style similar to the Spider-Verse films, which is a good take because people clearly like that. It really resonated with
I didn't get that vibe. I got a very flat, not like the ultra weird styles. I got a very flat style, which is fine. It's iconic. It looks different. It stands out.
Something to be surprised about. So I'm excited. I've wanted, something weekly about Spider-Man to kind of dig my teeth into for a very long time. Obviously, we have Spider Noir coming up with Nick Cage on Amazon Prime, which if it's out a year from now, I would be surprised. So now we have this, and we've known about the. It takes about 2 years for really anything to be produced, and that's okay.
Based on X-Men '97, if it hits that level of quality and good writing, I'm in. Although that had a lot of nostalgia with it, this one will be interesting. But I've liked a lot of the Spider-Man cartoons.
I agree. All right, moving forward into February. Now, I'm hearing some not great things about feedback about this film, so I definitely kind of have my sphincter clenched.
Is there early screenings or something?
There was a screening about a month ago, and maybe
Really?
maybe it was it was fake news. I don't know, but it was just basically a focus group screening that people were kind of trashing it. But the new Captain America film, starring continuing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, which I loved, but Todd was kind of lukewarm on, and I don't hear anybody else talking about how much they loved it, so I guess I'm in the minority, which is okay. Our new villain is played by the indomitable Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder, who led, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the Serpent Society, which was a classic supervillain band in the 1980s in the Cap title under Mark Gruenwald, the late Mark Gruenwald, who's one of my favorite.
Was Cobra part of that team?
Yes, he was, as I mentioned.
Oh my goodness!
Earlier. Yes,
there we
absolutely.
Go. It all comes together.
There is the connection. So, Tim Blake Nelson reprising his role as the leader all the way back to 2008's Ed Norton Hulk, which is so weird. And Shuri Haas as the Israeli superhero and mutant Sabra, which I know there's been some controversy around that as well, but
she's Jewish.
She's Jewish. My goodness. So anyway, and of course, Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk. Come on. How bad could it possibly be? It probably shouldn't have asked that question.
The movie originally wrapped in June 2023.
Oh my God.
That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah, and was supposed to come out in July 2024. That's a long time
The
to have
stri-
been wrapped.
well, I mean, it's the strike, and who knows how they had to go, and
Well,
I
the
don't know.
strike was.
It
I
was
mean,
it
it
was
wrapped before the
May.
strike.
Oh, I don't know. They could, but
Yeah,
they could.
that's a
Yeah, you know what?
post credits. I don't know. Yeah, I
There
mean, it's
there must be a reason. All right, I've been doing all the talking. Take it away. Talk to
okay.
me about Daredevil.
Okay, Daredevil Born Again. We've seen. I'm glad we are finally getting a showing of this because they showed scenes of this at Comic-Con, I believe. And
Yeah.
people are talking about how much they loved us. Essentially, the team's back together, and we are getting a new villain called. What is his name?
I didn't look
It's
ahead.
not in here. But
Whoops.
yeah. But apparently, this is the interesting part. We are also getting Mohan Kapoor will appear as Kamal Khan's father as one
Ooh.
of Matt's clients.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Wilson Bethel returns as Dex Point Dexter, now in full bullseye garb, and Nikki M. Janes as fellow lawyer Kristen McDuffie, and Camar de los Reyes as vigilante White Tiger. That's all kind of new
Yes.
stuff I didn't know about. But yeah, there was going to be a new villain that is a fairly new addition to Daredevil's entourage. He's a serial killer.
Oh.
So Kingpin will not be the main thrust as a villain, which is
That's
good
Very
because
good.
we've already had 2 seasons where Kingpin was the main
Right.
thrust as the bad guy.
Well, and they kind of teed it up at the after credits of something that the Kingpin is moving into following a comic arc where Wilson Fisk is the mayor of New York City. So
well, that was
kind of
that was the end of Echo.
there you go.
Remember they
There you
talked
go.
about it, yeah,
Right.
because last time we saw him was Echo, which was
There you
a
go.
series I really loved, and
too.
yeah, I think this is a good way to do it, where they should be a balance. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be like he's gone forever. The Kingpin should be that guy that always, like Luther, not gone forever, comes back, and he's always going from there. But the name of the villain, Charlie, is called Muse. So there you go.
That alt rock band that you like, Muse.
Yeah. Thunderbolts with an asterisk is next in May 2025.
Kicking off
at
the
this
summer.
point, we haven't seen anything new about this. So based on the trailer, it seems like people are more excited about it because they know what to expect.
Right.
And then we have obviously Bob as Sentry is going to be essentially what they were looking for. And I will be curious how Sentry will be used, if he is going to be an ongoing part of the MCU, or he'll be a one-off and fly away at the end like White Vision, right?
You're right. Which that's a project that's coming back, White Vision, but we won't quite get into that. So I already just keep forgetting that this is actually coming out, but this is talking about another sphincter clenching moment, the Fantastic Four First Steps on July of 2025. So that's Marvel's late summer film. With a cast that's pretty stellar, with you feel like you can't miss when you put Pedro Pascal in front of something. Marvel's first family, set actually at the time that the comic launched in the early 1960s, and directed by, speaking again, WandaVision's Matt Shakman, and obviously leading into them joining the MCU in present time. So it's the journey of that with Galactus. Actual Galactus, because there have been some storyboarded art of a physical corporeal individual who looks like Galactus, not a goddamn cloud, which is what we got in the 2007 Fantastic Four 2. But
there was a sizzle reel apparently at SDCC, which gave viewers a taste of the movie's zippy aesthetic, complete with Pascal's adopting a mid-Atlantic accent for Reed and snippets of a stirring score from Michael Giacchino, cementing the Incredibles' feel like better. But even better, fans got a quick look at the movie's primary antagonist, Galactus, played by Ralph Ineson, complete with the purple helmet. Right now, we have not seen Julia Garner as a Silver Surfer, not really the Silver Surfer, Silver Surfer's significant other, as well as John Malkovich and Paul Walter Hauser. I'm hoping Paul Walter Hauser is the molecule, is the Mole Man, and I think John Malkovich should be the Molecule Man. I don't know.
Or the Puppet
right,
Man.
wrong, indifferent. Or the Puppet Master.
Puppet Master works. He was the stepfather of Alicia Masters, who is the Thing's
Those
girlfriend.
weird lips and big eyes.
Yes,
and forehead.
very, very, very Kirby. I will make a prediction, and this is not a particularly bold one. We will get a trailer for this Super Bowl.
At the Super Bowl.
That's what
makes
I'm
sense.
Yep.
Eyes of Wakanda is another animated piece, and this is essentially telling tales of the home country of Wakanda.
Mhm.
Ryan Coogler is behind this, and we'll find out essentially if this is going to be like 6 episodes, weekly release. I'm curious, because this will be something that I think it will be if you're big into the Wakanda mythos. It's for that audience, but is it going to get people that not necessarily going to be interested to tune into that world? Which, quite honestly, if Black Panther himself is not involved in, are you really that interesting? It'd be like Peter Parker before Peter Parker.
It's like it's like the Spumco. Is it interesting without the main character? They managed to not make that interesting, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be the case here. But speaking of, obviously, the Black Panther section of the MCU. I already talked about the fact that I just watched Wakanda Forever recently. But Riri Williams, as a teenager at MIT, who's a Wonderkeen, builds her own suit, which the Wakandans help her refine down, is Ironheart. And she's going to be coming almost this time next year. So it'll be a fall series where she will be doing her thing. Also cast Anthony Ramos from In the Heights will play Parker Robbins, aka the Hood. Now, I'm thinking that Anthony Ramos, was he also in Transformers? The guy who got the G.I. Joe?
Yes, he was.
At the end? Yeah, there you go.
That's him.
The Hood was a primary villain who got a very lame action figure about a year ago. That's just a dude screaming with a removable hood, but he's like wearing like jeans and a members only.
Kind of how he rolls, though. Yeah. That's kind of the thing. He's never had a great look.
Right.
The Hood.
The Hood. I didn't know about this. Marvel Zombies making a comeback basically this time next year. Marvel Zombies, obviously a very big part, I think, of both seasons of What If. But Marvel Zombies has been huge ever since Robert Kirkman, who gave us The Walking Dead, in the late aughts, gave us the series. And animated, probably 6 to 8 episodes. And
is it going to be, I mean, could this just be like a 90-minute thing? Could it be like Werewolf by Night? Because it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a full-on series.
Oh, there you go. Halloween treat. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Probably makes sense.
I was just because we haven't had the Werewolf by Night. That was actually 2 years ago. We did rewatch that during the seasons. But yeah, looking forward to that. So, and then yes, Wonder Man, Christmas of next year. I don't know, man. You're right. It's a weird character to do, but he was there at the beginning. That character was a villainous character in the very early days of the Avengers. I think it was issue 9, where he was a failed industrialist, a competitor of Tony Stark who couldn't make it. So broken, penniless, he sold his soul to Baron Zemo, who he zapped him with the ray and gave him powers and said, "Go kill the Avengers for me." And then Simon ultimately couldn't do it, and he falls into a sleeping coma where they think he's dead, and then he comes back in the 70s and he's revived and he becomes a member of the team. Blah blah blah. And the actor thing wasn't a factor until the 80s. So I don't know.
I think they're trying to just find something a little less like goofy and maybe make it a little bit more like, hey, he was an actor. Let's go with that part. And veer away from some of the goofy, hey, it's the villain of the week, like the Cobra. And this is interesting because this is about a guy who is looking to be cast as this character, Wonder Man, who's basically a superhero. So at this point in the MCU, I'm not sure if they're making, I know they made a musical of the Avengers. I don't know if they're doing musical? MCU inside movies, or they're basically saying superheroes exist, but they don't give us our rights to make movies about them. So we're going to make superhero movies.
Oh, okay.
And basically this becomes a thing. But we also find out, and the name of the actor is Simon Williams. Yeah. And we do find out that this will include Eric Williams, aka the Grim Reaper, played by Demetrius Gross. And then Trevor Slattery will be in here as well. Quite honestly, we still don't know if he's just a goof, is truly the Mandarin. We don't really know overall. But yeah, I'm curious. This could be a one-off,
Yeah.
like She-Hulk or something like that, where it just feels a little different, and
It's just
that's not
funzo.
a bad thing.
I suppose not. All right. Well, by this point, we are into 2026 and beginning the next Avengers mega dynasty, which would be Avengers Doomsday, where we know that we are getting the return of Robert Downey Jr., who is stepping over Jonathan Majors' the corpse of his career to take the lead again. So, man, how does that really got to feel? They set this guy up so that he effed up so bad that they got
That's
to bring
Terrence
back in the
Howard.
ringer. Yeah.
There you go. That's all we need to say.
I mean, with Terrence Howard, he mixed it up with Robert Downey Jr., but he didn't do anything.
Well, he wanted money, and Marvel's like, no.
Yeah,
and he
like,
says,
no.
okay, you are replaceable, because Marvel
right.
at that point was very, very cheap and didn't pay anybody anything. So
right. Well, they have it. Yeah, it wasn't even Disney. It was still Paramount that was making them.
Yeah. So that is it for 2025.
Yes.
I would say anything in 2026 is highly likely to change.
Yes.
Like the ways of the wind that goes, but that's more Marvel than I really expected, because I know Bob Iger had said essentially, we're going to trim things down. So maybe this is just like, let's get rid of some of these things that quite honestly have been made for about 3 years, and let's move on.
I was going to say, are we going to cut it off there? Because we can probably talk about this for another.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah, like 2026 is so unknown.
Yeah, because as I said, it continues to trickle down, and they actually have an entry on Blade, which is hilarious because we know that that's not going to happen. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's move on. Legos. Oh my goodness. I didn't even know this was happening. The Lego Dynasty returns. Talk to me about it.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about Lego is the license gets moved around. Previously, Warner Brothers owned it, made all the games and everything like that. Now, Lego is going fast and loose. They've got Lego Fortnite. We do have the Lego Sony game coming out, Horizon Zero Dawn. There's been Lego racing games, and now I believe the Warner Brothers license has now been absorbed by Universal. So now Lego films are going to be made at Universal.
They actually,
and basically that deal.
They're going to have the stop motion where they have the little guy filming move him, move his leg, move his.
Yes, that's exactly how it's going to go. Yeah,
in the water tower with the Animaniacs. Yeah, I like it.
Yes. So that deal ended in 2020 with Warner Brothers. So this new deal is interesting. So we're getting 3 creators who are very good. Joe Cornish, who did Attack the Block, Jake Kasdan, who did Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and The Next Level, which those movies are fun. They're not exactly like, blockbusters. And then Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman. Basically, they're all going to be involved. And Jake Kasdan's actually doing that Red One movie, which is the Santa Claus with The Rock, which looks entertaining.
It's such a weird movie that just feels like it should be on Netflix. You know what I mean? It does
feel like a Netflix film.
It feels like it would be on the big screen. I wonder how it's going to do. But anyway, I'll see it.
I'm guessing because holiday movies like that, I feel like will attract audience. I'll see it too. It looks dumb fun. Yeah. So at this point, we also so the way this is going to work out that we're going to get a script by Andrew Mogul and Jared Paul. It's based on an original idea. Good idea. Jenkins' film will be based on a script she co-wrote with Jeff Johns. And Cornish will be writing a script by Heather Ann Campbell from A Treatment by Simon Rich. Lots of bricks in motion, of course. And at this point, we do have Lego Jurassic Park themed video games. Obviously, have happened before Universal. There's Wicked. Maybe we get a version of Wicked coming from Lego. Who knows? But other than that, I don't know what this could be. I mean, Universal properties are, the Fast and the Furious is one of those.
Pretty much. What else are they making these days?
I don't know. That's a good question, because let's see. What do they have? Jurassic Park. They don't have the Harry Potter because that's Warner Brothers.
Right. We're getting another one of those. Where is I'm drawing a blank. I don't even know what I was thinking of. They don't have Mission Impossible is Paramount, so that's not that.
They have. I'm just looking through their list of movies. So they have. Oh God, some of these are just bad. Trolls. They have the Trolls property. They have looking through Fast and Furious. Yes, of course.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They have Candyman, which I don't think they're going to make that. The Addams Family animated. films.
Okay.
House of Gucci. I don't think they're going to do that. The Sing films. The Bad Guys, which was that animated film about the bad guys, which was cute. Black Phone, don't think they're doing that. The Minions. That's right, Minions.
Well, hold on. Black Phone just started production of its sequel. Like today, it was in the headline. So
I don't think they're doing a Lego movie on that.
Oh, you're talking the adaptability. Yeah.
The
Black Lego phone.
Shrek, is that DreamWorks? That's like Shrek films. Minions.
Is that Universal now? Is that where
DreamWorks
ended up?
I mean, DreamWorks is Universal. Yeah, at their parks. I'm keeping looking here. Puss in Boots, yeah, that's one. Megan, not gonna happen. Oh, the Super Mario Brothers movie, yeah, I mean that could happen. Keep going here, Charlie. Oppenheimer, not doing that.
Man, Lego nuclear bomb.
Five Nights at Freddy. I mean, sure, why not?
Now we're talking.
Kung Fu Panda.
I would just love to know if we're ever going to get another game by Traveler's Tales that's Lego, because it's the only games that I enjoy. But oh well.
I mean, they do have the Horizon Zero Dawn game coming out. That's Lego. Which is but I don't know if you're going to see any more DC Lego games, just because once again they're kind of not associated with Warner Brothers anymore. But we don't know.
No more association. Well, very interesting. We will see the Lego dynasty as it evolves. All right. So Todd, Scary Movie came out in 2002, 2004. Like it's a product of the early aughts.
I think I saw it with my dad. It was one of the last movies I saw with my dad. So if I saw it with my dad, it would have been probably before I went into the Air Force active duty.
So in the
98.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know when the first one was launched. That one was a surprise hit. I mean, the Wayne brothers
it says right here the original did come out in the year 2000.
2000. So, okay, so I must have been.
And then there was a second and then a third in 01, and then I assume the third would have been a couple of years after that. So always coming out at the same time of year. So, but it's been over 20 years, and it was just a straight send up, in particular of slasher, the rebirth of the slasher films from the late 90s, because your main character-ish was the ghost face guy from Scream. Lampooned with
Anna Faris first debut, unknown cast in that movie. It was great.
I think, and what was that by the Zucker brothers? Like the guys who did Airplane and stuff. Was that them?
The first two films were by the Wayans.
Oh, right. Okay. So I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it got moved along. It was from, and who was actually, it was behind the films. Would it have been? Oh, it was Miramax.
Oh, that's right. Boy.
Our boy Harvey, yeah. Right. It's perfect timing for them to come back, because obviously the Scream movies have never died. We've had so many new horror films since, those have come back. And we had a lot of those horrible parody films, like in the mid 90s to the mid 2000s. They were just bad. Like superhero movie, disaster movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, there's always a market for that comedy horror, that very lampooning comedy horror as well. There's unintentionally horrible movies, like, they go into mention talking about, like, movies by M. Night Shyamalan and so on and so forth. So this is something that's starting to roll. Is that we're seeing like some movement on this?
And the Wayans brothers are back. And which is, hopefully they've got some good ideas. I mean, the Wayans brothers have after In Living Color, their track record has always been a little spotty.
That really was their, peaked in high school kind of moment for the Wayans brothers. I hate to say it, but there have been five or six of these movies. Parts 3 through 5. The Wayans were not part, so they were around for the first two.
Regina Hall and Anna Faris were the stars of the first one.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, who could forget Ghostface smoking a bong? I mean,
oh my God, yeah, with Smokey, who was Marlon Wayne's character. Was it Marlon Wayne's character?
Yeah, I think it was Marlon Wayans. Sean Marlon. You know what? They didn't get. Who's the other brother? I think is the most talented of them all.
Well, Keenan was
no. The other one who was in The Last Boy Scout. Damon.
Damon. There you go.
I think Damon's the most talented of them all,
I
and they
agree.
didn't get him to be in it.
Yeah, and then his son, Damon Wayans Jr. was in. Was it New Girl? Wasn't that his
Yeah,
son?
he's been in a lot of stuff. He's very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he got the talented gene. So this would be fun. I mean, yeah, if the Waynes are involved, it has a chance of winning it back. So we will find out. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Everybody knows that if you have a good thing, what do you do when you have a good thing in entertainment, Todd? You keep pushing it until it's not good anymore.
You
And that's
leave it alone and let it become a classic.
right. Exactly.
You
That is
just
not
leave
what
it
they're
alone.
That is not what they're doing with the stellar 2-part huge cinematic version of It that we got in the last couple of years, because they are doing a new series called It Welcome to Derry, or Dury if you prefer, Derry, which is the setting of the whole shebang bang. So what's going on? This is an HBO Max series, not a movie, which is good.
Mhm.
I can sit and watch something on Max and not feeling like that. So this is going to be, Todd, what's your favorite type of storytelling conveyance? Starts with a P.
Whoa!
Yes.
Gotta love it. Yes.
This is going to be.
Well, I mean, the whole premise of it is a history of
right.
occurrences,
Right.
right?
So that actually makes sense, because the big exposition dump that happened in the first film with the kids in the past in the 1980s was, we're go to library and go through the stacks and all these convenient newspaper clippings, and you see 8 kids killed in a lumber collapse, and then in the background you see Skarsgård's face. You know what I mean? So it's like he always comes back every 27 years. He survives on fear. He's got this weird little underground spiral of dead bodies floating around, and that's what gives him his power. So this will be laying the groundwork. And one of the more memorable stories told by character Mike Hanlon's father, Will Hanlon, telling the story of his last days. I think Hanlon was the black character, wasn't he?
Yeah.
No?
Mhm.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
So I am April is a huge Stephen King fan, as I've said many times, so this will definitely be on our radar 9-episode series that I would have to believe is going to be out this time next year.
Yeah, and speaking to that part you talked about, he talks about his telling his truth, and this is the interesting part. When I was looking at what is that story, he says, Will Hanlon and his fellow Air Force servicemen had created a nightclub called the Black Spot, a haven for black patrons in the time of segregation and deep-seated racism. One night, the main Legion of White Decency, a violent white supremacist group, burned the club to the ground, killing many innocent people. While the Legion set the blaze, something far more sinister was lurking in the flames, it itself. So that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And fits in which makes it good. So do we get a date? And I keep scrolling. Boy, this is a long article. Yeah, to me, this was a whole art. This was Todd, Entertainment Weekly is still around. There's photographs here. With a lot of vintage Air Force too. That's right up your alley.
2025, 9 episodes, and the Muschietis, who are behind It 1 and It 2, are behind this as well. They won't be directing it, but they are basically executive producers who developed the idea.
Very nice. Well, I'm fired up for
Muschietti.
This will be good. Muschietti. This will be good stuff. Yeah. I am assuming Halloween of next year. All right. Well, that takes us out of the news. Todd, I've got my phone out, my Fuber app, my feeble Uber app. It's time to get that funky, stinky cab to take us uptown to Scugtown, Nastyville. Cab pulls up, smoke pouring out, disgusting stench as we get in. But the AM radio is on, and it's playing this very familiar advertisement.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So, quite honestly, with Halloween, a lot of the stuff I was catching up on was I was watching. I think I'm on episode 5 of Hysteria, which I'm enjoying quite a bit.
Yes, we like to
yeah. Yep, I'm not finished. Obviously, I'm like, how long is this? It's like 8 episodes, so I've got 3 more to do.
Yep.
So I'll be working on that. I was also watching some more of The Penguin, which is really, really good.
Gotta get around to that. I think we're only on the second one, so I think we're waiting at this point.
So it was the wife's choice of what to watch on Halloween. So we were watching some other things, and we finished up WandaVision, of course, but we're going to talk about that next week.
You mean
so?
This is Agatha. This is the second time you called it WandaVision. It's called
WandaVision Part 2. WandaVision Part 2. Well, I kind of feel like it's the one universe at this point.
It's a little pocket. It's a pocket.
Exactly. They said Wanda's name quite a few times. But that brings me to the wife got the choice of what to watch. She likes a little bit more whimsy in the fare of certain things. So we watched Descendants, Rise of Red. Charlie, are you aware of the Descendants franchise on Disney?
I think maybe not. I think perhaps in name only. So Reader's Digest version. What is it?
So Descendants is essentially taking fairy tales and saying, these are the descendants of Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, and it's about fairy tale kingdoms, and there's villains, and they're kind of segregated from the good people, and you've got Cinderella played by Brandy, you've got the Queen of Hearts played by Rita Ora, and which is kind of crazy. I'm like, oh, Rita Ora's in this? And wow, so Brandy was in it too. So because Brandy actually did play Cinderella in a Disney movie back in the day, so she came back to be part of this. So it's also become like a big phenomenon. There's 3 movies. This is actually the 4th movie. There's an animated series. So basically, it's big with the tweens. It's also musical. So think of like High School Musical with like fantasy settings, things like this. They've also done the Zombies series where you've got like zombies living in a world with humans, but they do musical numbers and dance. And I don't think the zombies actually eat anybody.
It sounds riveting.
Yes. So this movie is essentially a spin-off where you've got the Queen of Hearts' daughter, Red, who they live in Wonderland, of course, and they've chose not to come in part of the fold and join the rest of the Magic Kingdoms, and but they decide to how's this work? So the one woman who has now been in charge of everything went on a sabbatical. So they brought in Ursula's granddaughter to run who was a former villain, to run the high school. Here we go. We're getting there. She then decides, well, I'm a rebel. I'm going to invite Wonderland and have them allow them to join. So they send an invitation, and Red is kind of a rebel, Charlie, and she is not happy that her mother's kind of a tyrant, and there's a lot of foreboding. So we do find out, though, that Red is trying to rebel against her mother. It's not working very well. Well, the invitation comes to the Queen of Hearts. Red doesn't think she's going to allow her to go. And all of a sudden, the Queen of Hearts allows her to go.
What could it be?
Well, I don't want to give it all away, but essentially you do find out it was all a ploy of the Queen of Hearts, because essentially they've been there's the entryway into the kingdoms has been held, but because the offering is there, they can go into the other kingdom, and hijinks ensue. We go back in time, Charlie, and there's musical numbers, and yeah. I mean, we got like teen versions of like Hades. We got a teen version of Captain Hook, another spinoff of, or like Ursula, daughter or sister. I don't know. We've got different versions of different characters. Jasmine, Aladdin, who are Indian now rather than Arabic.
Oh.
It was fun. It's goofy. The musical numbers weren't too bad, and I was kind of like, okay, it's got a little beat, but it's fun. So that if you're looking for something with your kids to watch, it's not horrible. It's fun.
Kind of kid appropriate with Brandy, who's like our age. She's
Brandy is Cinderella and her Prince Charming guy, and So I will say not bad if you're looking for something for the whole family around the holiday season.
That's
it. You could tell I was like digging the dirt. I'm like, did I watch anything else? I don't know. I watched a YouTube video.
You know what?
Talk about that.
You know what I've started having to do midweek is send myself an email when I watch something. Talk about on show this week. I watched this because I'll forget. I mean, especially with traveling and everything, and all the different shit we do. It's tough. But I sent myself an email with these three things. But I was the victim of letting April choose movies twice, and we have this ongoing gag when we fly. I always watch Infinity War and Endgame. That's my flying thing. Like annually, that's when I watch it, because I don't fly but more than 2-3 times a year. And April will download and watch terrible movies from Netflix, and I will often look over her shoulder. In the past, when she had wired headphones, I would listen on the other half, and we would just riff on it because they're so bad. But we ended up watching a couple. But first, I watched a movie that was the third in a trilogy, or at the very least in a series of films that was kicked off by the film X back in 2022, followed up by Pearl the same year, which was a prequel to the first film. And then this was the conclusion, called MaXXXine, with 3 X's in the middle. And these all star, Hollywood ingenue Mia Goth, who I don't know anything else that she's been other than these films, and it's something where maybe she kept her clothes on, because
she was just in something as well, which I saw, and let me look really quick. I will tell you what she's been in. The House.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Infinity Pool, that weird movie, Mayday, Emma, Staggering Girl, High Life, Suspiria, Marrowbone, and what's her real name? Does she have a real name?
Her name is Mia
Goth. Gypsy Mello de Sylvia Goth, Charlie. She has...
We'll stick with Mia Goth, because it's something you can actually say. But these films are interesting. So the first film kicked off in rural Texas in the 1970s, and with an aspiring troupe of adult filmmakers and actors who fall into a trap of renting a space in a cheap rural property with an old couple that just likes to kill people, and then you jump backwards, and the only survivor, sorry to spoil it, is MaXXXine, who is not with the 3 X's, just 1 X at this point, who is Mia Goth's character, who drives off a la the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, escapes into the night at the end of that film. Second film is a prequel that tells the story of the elderly woman in the first film, whose name is Pearl, in the late 19-teens, and it's there's no nudity in that one at all. The first one is chock filled with nudity. And then we get to the third film, where we catch up with MaXXXine 12 years later, 1985, Los Angeles, the same time as the Night Stalker murders, which raged between 1984 and 1985, as told by the film. And there's stalking going on in MaXXXine's world, and trying to figure out if, with her fellow friends in the adult film actress go-go dancing club world. MaXXXine is trying to get out of porn and becoming a regular actress, and she lands a role in a sequel to a film that I don't know if it's a real film, but it was called, I think it was a made-up film for it, but actress Lily James, or maybe it's actually, no, it's actress Lily Collins, Phil Collins' daughter, comes back as the star of that first film and has some roles. Halsey, the singer, a very beautiful singer, also has a role in the film. But it's about, MaXXXine, who's obviously a very tough woman who can take care of herself, having to fend off what we find out is a cult that is cleansing the sin in the city of angels. Quite a twist of an ending, quite a disgusting ending, not to be surprising. It's very graphic. There's a bit of nudity here, a bit of nudity there, but it's certainly not like the first film. But April absolutely didn't want to watch the other two films after we watched the first one together. I think she would have enjoyed this one because it was more of a mystery horror film. It's not great by
an investigation film.
Yeah, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought it was pretty great. And Mia Goth she's a beauty. She's a non-traditional beauty, but she really does pump out the ingenue vibe. So I really do like it. So very strong ties between her character in the first film, who's a runaway, and then having that runaway plotline come full circle. Kevin Bacon also stars as a very stylized private investigator who's set to basically track MaXXXine down. So and he does not meet with such a good end. But anyway, Todd, I would recommend it. It's available on Max. Have you seen the other two films? It
looked interesting. I've not seen the other two films, but this one stood out. I was kind of like, oh, I kind of like that. Kind of like a period, grimy, like serial killer.
I would say, since you have the benefit of not having seen any of them, start with the second one because it's a prequel. Watch the first one second, and then watch this, and you'll be good. You'll be
is that the what is it called, the what's it called, order?
Yes, that's the machete order of the MaXXXine universe.
MaXXXine universe. Okay.
So anyway, April and I racked out a couple of very silly kind of quasi genre Netflix movies, and damned if I'm not going to end up screwing up what the hell these two were about. Oh, I'm sorry. The second one really wasn't. The first one was. It was about a woman played by, I'm going to draw a blank on the actress's name, but she is a character in Yellowstone. Todd, Yellowstone comes back next week. I already pre-ordered the second half of season 5 because we
pre-ordered it.
Yeah, you can pre-order it on Fandango. That's how we got series 4 because it's on Paramount Network. It's the only way I can watch it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, That's the only way. So, but anyway, she played a character on that show.
Don't they eventually go to Peacock?
Eventually, they're about 2 seasons behind. Yeah, they don't have them all.
Oh,
yeah, they're at least a year behind. But so it's this that actress whose name I'm drawing a blank on has lost her young child. She's contemplating suicide. She's standing on the edge of a cliff in a national park somewhere in California, where actor Finn Wittrock walks up. The future he's still Green Lantern, right? He's going to be a Green Lantern. And that upcoming show, from was he from your? He was from the American Horror Story. You know who he is. But anyway,
I barely recognize him.
He walks up, talks her down off the ledge, but then it really quickly turns out that he's a serial killer. He injects her with a drug that infects complete paralysis, throws her in a car, and drives her off to his lair. And that's when the story really begins. Kind of a predictable, as you would imagine, kind of storyline, filmed entirely in Canada. But hey, that looks like the Sierra Nevada mountains. They can get away with that. Filming it in Alberta, it's a lot cheaper. So that was Netflix movie number 1, and the second movie, based on a true story, I think written and or directed and starring Anna Kendrick, which is The Woman of the Hour. Todd, you probably heard about this one.
I have heard about this film. Yes,
this has to do with a one of the dating game kind of shows in the 1970s, where one of the male contestants was an honest to God serial killer, and through the course of this, they were able to nab the guy. That is really how it ends. But it's told about a few different women. Anna Kendrick is the main character, who is not the ultimate victim. Which that she's not, because it's a true story. But the guy they found to play this serial killer guy is he's creepy as shit. They nailed that part of it. So this is probably one of the better
Isn't
Netflix.
that like horrible stereotyping? Creepy serial killers. Come on, they're not all bad.
A creepy, slightly overweight, unshaven guy with long hair is a serial killer. It just happened to work out this way. But that one I actually would recommend because I thought it was really well made. And after we finished watching it, April turned and looked this up. The Anna Kendricks took her fee for making and starring in this and donated it to charity because she just didn't feel right about keeping it. Because of the nature of the story, which I think is amazing. Good for her. Do something
pretty
good.
Cool. Yeah, that's pretty
good.
cool that it happens. I mean, you think of everybody you meet and the old catchphrase, "They were such a nice man."
He seemed totally. Isn't that you used to tell me about your neighbor in your old neighborhood who's like my other neighbor, Jeffrey Dahmer? Never see him.
Yeah, we could talk about Old Man Witherspoon, who has wood on his windows and only opens his door that far.
Yeah,
when he gives away Halloween candy.
What do you want? Yeah, right. Bloop, bloop. Oh my goodness. So anyway, no, excuse me. So yes, that is the week in Netflix movies, but we are done at the Geek Easy. Todd, time to get ourselves out of here, skipping out on that bill yet again. But I've got my Air Qantas app out. Time to get us to the land down under where Hologram Tina and the mutants await us for our final proclamation of the much ballyhooed Venom the Last Dance. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week we are talking about Venom the Last Dance. This is a spoiler-filled reaction to this third and the final trilogy of the Venom universe. Tom Hardy will now go on and make a sequel to the Cobra character we just talked about. The premise of this film: Eddie and Venom on the run face pursuit from both worlds. As circumstances tighten, they're compelled to make a heart-wrenching choice that could mark the end of their symbolic partnership. Directed by Kelly Marcel. Also written by Kelly Marcel and Tom Hardy. Apparently they are production partners.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this film released 2 weeks ago. Budget 120, has made $317 million. These movies are highly successful. So you ask why they keep making them? Because people keep going, especially overseas. Very, very big overseas.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so Tom Hardy returns. Chiwetel Ejiofor comes in as a military dude. Juno Temple playing Dr. Teddy Payne. Re-Sci fans, as you know, as the Lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man, not playing that character, playing a hippie named Martin. Mm-hmm. Stephen Graham playing Detective Mulligan, who you're probably like, hey, is that guy somebody? No, not really. Looks like Marky Mark.
I think both he and Chiwetel Ejiofor, they were in the previous films, right?
Sure. The detective was for sure. I 100%
have no recollection of that film because it was so bad while we were watching it. The one with Woody as Carnage.
With Woody, yeah. A lot of things happened in that film, and it was happening. Peggy Lou, she's back. Miss Chen.
Mrs. Chen, yes.
Clark Bacco as Sadie, who I think was a scientist. Alana Ubach as Martin's wife, named Nova. Mm-hmm. And then other than that, you got a lot of people. Oh, and last one, Andy Serkis, who is the director of the second film, is portraying the character that you probably really know it's him as Null. Right. So there we go. That is the premise of the film. And I'll talk about some of the lines of this movie at the end, and also a little bit of trivia and where this is going next. So, Charlie, this movie opens up exactly where the last one finished, at their end credit, where Eddie was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
right? 616
wormhole,
right?
This one lasts about 2 seconds, gets pulled back into his bar with Danny Rojas.
It was,
as the bartender.
And it was, the first part of it was recycled footage from the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. That was the stinger in that film. So that was not.
Oh, that was the stinger? Okay.
Correct.
I totally forgot. Yep. I just knew there was a stinger.
Yep. No, that was it. And of course, when he gets yanked out of there, he leaves a little glob of the symbiote. They're like, oh, that's going to find Peter Parker. It's a start your engines kind of moment. And then he's dropped back in his own universe where it's the same bartender who instead of short hair, he has long hair. So, oh my God, but I think it's wearing the same clothes. And then,
Sure.
and so Venom now, so yes, in the other universe, whatever it is, Null, who I swear to God, I thought was going to be Norman Reedus. I feel like I read a headline somewhere that said Norman Reedus would have been great in that role that was really nothing.
Because he's got stringy hair that now looks like it's never been cleaned.
Exactly correct.
Okay. That's all it takes.
But yeah, this is a National Lampoon's vacation trip for Eddie because he's down in Mexico. That's where he's at, and he encounters some trouble there and has to, Venom has to eat some drug lord guys' heads and tear them
Well, he's
apart.
on the run because apparently framed for the detective that was in the second film was shown as being killed when in actuality not killed.
Yes.
So Eddie, they decide that they're going to escape and go to New York. So that's the premise of this film.
That's
Where
what
they're going to
Venom
go.
wants.
Why New
Yeah.
York? I mean, it's not like you're going to be less noticeable there in New York.
Right.
Why not go to Montana, Charlie?
And with the Yellowstone people, exactly.
Exactly.
Be a lot. But yes, his and then there's a whole subplot where the fame in Nevada. So because we end up with Vegas as the actual cityscape setting that we have in Nevada. The famous Area 51, home of aliens, Air Force Base, whatever it is being decommissioned. And but of course, just like with Shield or GI Joe or whatever, there's an underground facility where it's a big science lab, and your head scientist, and this was the part of it that made zero sense. Your head scientist is played by Juno Temple, who is of course from Ted Lasso. That's how I know her. But she lives out in the desert, and she's had somebody's having a dream. She's imagining herself as a child walking arm in arm with her brother, who gets struck by lightning. And then because they're holding hands, her arm is scarred and all of the muscles are destroyed. So she just has like she doesn't have like a limpy arm or what. She just has an arm that doesn't work. Her left arm doesn't work.
Well, I thought she used it even. I thought I saw her use it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm like, didn't seem like a big deal.
But I
don't know.
But it's and again, it comes later in the film. We'll talk about how her getting struck by lightning comes back later in the film as a
because I was wondering about where that plot line was going to come back.
But I mean, when I saw her, I'm like, okay, well, this chick has an arm that doesn't work. She's going to get a symbiote, and then she'll be fine. Not that I'm saying this. Sorry, that's what happened. I'm sorry to jump ahead. But anyway, But at Area 51, that detective, who's also been glommed onto by a symbiote on and off, it's keeping him alive, explains, I believe it's him that explains that Venom, when this was such a fuzzy area, when Venom completely envelops Eddie's body, and not just a little bit, and Venom goes through this whole sequence where he explains it to Eddie because Venom is aware of it. When he fully venoms out, he emits the signal from something called the Codex, which is stolen from Superman, where Null can sense it.
The Codex just like isn't the Codex like just really just it's just like a guide to language?
I guess.
Codex, like you'd have like, oh, this means A and this means B, and yeah,
sure, why not? But at any rate, Null needs to get his hands on this because Null is able to open interdimensional portals and send over. He just has a field of monsters that he can send, and they're indestructible.
Xenophages.
There you go. They're indestructible, so they're gonna find Eddie, but they can only find him like if he's venomed out and then Venom retracts.
They can sense it like the Predator,
which is dumb because why would Venom ever then fully
ever come out? Exactly,
he
and then
come out
the
like,
other
99%, like his one, like maybe leave one finger, and then he could. It's just
it's ridiculous. We get a lot of exposition because we get the exposition about Area 51, about how like Venom wasn't the only symbiote that was captured. So they captured all of them except for Venom. Obviously, Carnage got out, but the other part was we get a lot of exposition by Venom, who talks about how Null is the offspring or the child, or the symbiotes are the children of Null, along with the xenophages, and they captured Null, and they escaped. but he's
Yeah.
stuck there.
He's imprisoned, but he controls them. It's just like I said,
But he makes those. Why can't he get out with one of those portals?
because he's sitting in the chair. Maybe he's chained to the chair.
Is he
Maybe
chained to the chair?
the codex
Yeah.
is like a skeleton key, or maybe it's like a wristband.
Okay.
He needs to be like beep, like on Disney.
He's
where
like
you
one of
gotta
those
use
people you hear
fast
about, like those people like their ass has grown into the toilet
Oh,
seat.
right, yeah, my 1,000-pound life or whatever. Yeah, someone who's been
Sorry,
been on a couch for 20 years and they're a part
yeah.
of it.
They're part of the
funny.
couch. Yeah,
Exactly. So we do get, Eddie going through the desert, and he's got he fights this team of, like, the Navy SEALs, and and there's a sequence in the river, and he escapes there, but then he
becomes a fish.
He becomes a fish, and then not too long after that, we get well, we do see him. He's up on an airplane for a while, but because he's hitching a ride, and that's when he gets forced to the ground, and that's when the black helicopters show up, or whatever it is, and then he gets out of the fish part, and then he finds a horse, and so you get the famous scene that you get from the trailer where he's on he venomifies that horse.
But I don't understand how Eddie is taking down, like, without Venom. How is he taking out, like, paramilitary troops? I mean, he's a goofus. He is not in good shape.
Yeah,
he's like stumbling around.
He is such,
but he's taking.
Yeah, he is such a dum-dum, which is not really what the character in the comics was.
And he's supposed to be an investigative
he's a
reporter.
Yeah.
It's just very odd. Yeah, so they do stumble through excellence. The xenophage comes in, takes out all of the troops. They escape.
Right.
Eddie's walking around with no shoes. I guess people don't bother him, and that's where he runs into
why can't Venom
the hippie family.
Why can't Venom give him shoes? That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so he meets this hippie family with Reese Ifans, and there's a always rolling their eyes teenage daughter. There's the hippie mom, and then there's, of course, the precocious preteen child who just thinks Eddie is great, and he rides with them for a while, and they sing, and they said, oh, we're going to Area 51 because Dad's always wanted to see an alien, blah, blah, blah. So we spend 15 minutes in that. I'm just like, all you're doing is setting them up so that this family can later find themselves in danger, and Eddie's going to have to sacrifice himself something.
That never happens. It was an original idea, Charlie. Take that back.
It was a very, very thin setup that has been done. I wouldn't even say it's been done better, because it can't be done better because it's terrible. But yes, by this point, now do they finally capture Eddie? No, they get to Area 51. I'm trying to remember.
So they end up going to Vegas. So that's the thing. The family drops him off in Vegas. Eddie, there's some hijinks where Eddie gets to dress up, so he ends up taking out a guy peeing, puts on a suit.
Right.
And there's a funny scene where Venom wants to gamble. All of a sudden, he's got $20. That's it. He wants to gamble. And he goes through the dollar slots really quick. Yeah, then kicks the thing. And guess who they run into, Charlie? At Vegas. Who do they run into?
The only other character with any kind of connective tissue to the other films, Mrs. Chen, who ran the bodega back in San Francisco, where he's from. And she's like, come hang out with me. I have the super suite or whatever. And they're hanging out. They do, what do they dance? Dancing Queen? Is it Dancing Queen?
I'm guessing it was. Is there I got to find out the soundtrack here. Because there was a lot of songs in this movie.
Right.
Where's the soundtrack? Where's the soundtrack?
But in doing this, I think that the macrophages catch up with him, and also the army catches up with him.
Well, because Venom wants to dance, and as he fully goes to Venom, he turns into the Codex, comes in.
Yeah.
The xenophage comes in to attack him, and that's when the troops come in. They they separate Venom and Eddie, and then take him back to Area 51.
Right, and the xenophages just obviously run off. So now we've worked our way up to the third act. There's going to be a big showdown because, even though they have Eddie incarcerated and they have the detective guy incarcerated,
Detective, yeah.
and they have
Who's been talking to them, like his symbiote has come out and talked to them and tells them like the night has teeth and things like that.
Oh my god! And all the other symbiotes are in little glass vials scattered around this room.
Different colors, different varieties. It's like
it's
the
your
color. It's like the Power Rangers, Color of the Rainbow, Doctor.
United Benetton of symbiotes. Exactly. So anyway, obviously push comes to shove. The xenophobe. I'm going to call them the xenophobes.
The xenophobes.
Oh boy,
they hate each other.
Like
all the aliens.
It's going to sound like a Trump rally. Sorry. They show up and it turns into battle royale. All the little symbiotes get freed up. But yeah, the thing about what are they now? The Xenobites? What the hell are they now?
The Xenofacious.
I'm just going to call them
the Cenobites from Hellraiser showed
that's
up.
What I was thinking of. The Xenos, they show up. What's gross about them is when they bite somebody, they bite them and then out of their back, it's just all the chunder comes out.
It's like a tree wood chipper. Yeah, it's like through the back. I'm like, that's interesting.
I know.
And apparently the symbiotes can be absorbed or destroyed, which we haven't seen before.
Your first victim is the detective guy. He's out. He gets eaten up. The other symbiotes get freed, and some will just jump onto like the security guard or some random guy. None of them are making it. But the only survivors at this point, Juno Temple with her arm that works, grabs one of the vials and puts it in her pocket. So they're saving that. But her assistant grabs one, and isn't it
Christmas?
purple?
What was her name? Like something Christmas? Sadie Christmas? Is
no,
that her name?
You're thinking of Professor. Wasn't that a Bond girl? Was Christmas? It was.
Yes, there was. Yes. Professor Christmas. Oh, Christmas came early. Ha ha ha. No, her name was Sadie Christmas.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Clark Bacco played Sadie Christmas. Yes.
There you go. So obviously it's it's your regular run and gun big blue without the big blue sky. Well, no, there was a little bit of sky hole because little holes would have to appear for the things to jump out. But it's a CGI monster fest for 20 minutes. Naturally, the hippie family shows up. They're at the gate. They want to save Eddie, so they go inside. They're up in one of the control towers for the airfield trying to save him. They're like, no, I gotta help him, and it's all this back and forth. And eventually, and it's the regular army shows up, they're shooting, their weapons have no effect, whatever. The Strickland, who's the general, he's there and he's like, it was all my fault and blah blah blah. And it gets down to it being just Venom and the general, and they're trying to pull the big Xeno into a trap of some kind. But during this time they get help.
And extreme acid.
But before this happens, naturally Juno Temple, who's got the last vial, breaks it and it takes over her body, and her symbiote power, because as a child she was struck by lightning, is that she has lightning like another Spider-Man villain, Electro.
And super fast though. That was like more so than electric. Lightning seemed like being fast was like more of the thing, because she escapes with Sadie Christmas, because they were all these symbiotes were like being good guys. They don't want to eat brains. They don't want to do anything. They just want to save Venom. But I'm like, if you kill Venom, then they won't be able to come back after. Right. It's like, what?
Yeah, there's no through line. But apparently Juno Temple, when she was struck by lightning as a child, lightning became part of her DNA. I did not know that that's what happens when you get struck by lightning.
Of course it does, Charlie. Where else is going to go? Are you going to fart it out or something?
It could be, yeah. I mean, if you have a really bad one, thunderclaps.
Lightning, yeah.
But yes, Juno Temple gets the hippies back to safety. I don't think Sadie makes it. I think she gets killed. And now we're down to the final three. It's just the general.
Oh, I thought she saved Sadie. I thought she grabbed Sadie. Lost her. I thought Sadie lost her her symbiote, but I thought Juno saved her.
I have already forgotten. So if that's what you're saying, I will take your word for it. But anyway, as you were saying, they pull. It's the general and Venom pull the big giant Xeno into the acid trap. The general makes a heroic sacrifice where he, has a grenade and he sets off the button so that the tank explodes. But Venom, the symbiote, in the big tearful goodbye, says he's going to sacrifice himself to save Eddie. So he puts this, this big bomb blast door over the top of Eddie, and then he goes back and keeps the Xeno in the kill box long enough for the acid to release, and then both of them are killed. And
Yeah, and there's a lot of just acid just flying everywhere, so everybody kept on getting hit by the acid.
Right,
It was great.
Well,
that's why
the general didn't make it. So anyway, with the codex destroyed, Null is prisoner for all time, and that's the end of that portion of the movie. But then
I did read it here, Charlie.
Okay.
Payne bonds with the symbiote to save Sadie from the explosion, so she did save Sadie Christmas.
Okay, very good. Well, that was something that I clearly forgot. So anyway, so we kind of fade to black, and then we do see Eddie having reached New York City, playing the corniest "My Friend Is Dead" song, the Paul Walker song from Fast and Furious, as he walks down the street, the "It's Been a Long Time" song, as Eddie's standing at the Statue of Liberty and takes a picture with his phone, and he says, "This one's for you, buddy," and that's the end of the movie.
Well, we forgot that the military told him, we're forgiving you for all of your bad things. Your record is expunged. Don't be a bad dude. And then
disappear.
Yeah, that's the end of the film.
That's the end of the film. We do get a really pointless stinger of Null just going, "Brrr," and that's it. That's the end of the movie.
Yeah, I will return and I will eat your brains and blah, blah, blah. And I thought the Codex was the only way it could do it.
Well, he's going to find another way. And with I don't know if that's domestic box office of 300, but.
Did you say for the last end of credits?
I did, but now I don't remember what it is. I did stay through.
What was basically the Venom symbiote survived and was taken over a cockroach.
That's right. The guy,
there you go.
Because the bartender guy from Mexico, who also got captured, wanders out into the wasteland and he's walking away. But yeah, you're right. There's one last shattered vial and it's cockroach. So there you go.
Well, maybe that's why, because the Codex still is around, because a part of Venom survived and Eddie's still alive.
I don't know that it was established. I also don't know why Venom had it, but the others did. Like, what made Venom special?
Apparently it was very special because all the symbiotes were perfectly fine with letting themselves die and letting Venom live. So,
well, yeah, you're right. Yeah. He was the symbiote Jesus, I guess. He was the
So here's some great lines from this film, Charlie.
Please.
This is what Null says at the end. Your champion has fallen. Your planets will be mine. The king in black is awake. I will kill your world. Everyone will burn and you will watch. Then Venom says, "Hola, bitches." Then
konnichiwa, bitches, like Dave Chappelle.
Let's see what else. And Venom says, "We're home. I'm so done with the multiverse shit."
The multiverse. Oh,
but then I have to ask. Here we go, Charlie. What's next? Another question. Is Venom really dead? We don't know.
Of course not.
Next thing is what happened to the Venom bit left behind in the MCU.
Right.
Apparently, it contradicts it. The little piece comes back with them.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the Venom piece captured at the start of the movie?
I will say that I read a headline today. And I put it in our Discord. By the way, if you don't subscribe to our SFU Discord, you are missing out. That is where we share all of our great rumors and news and conversations happen, yada, yada, yada. That an Agent Venom film, which is in the comics, is structured around the Spider-Man character of Flash Thompson, who in the Tom Holland films is played by actor Tony Rivoli. Flash Thompson goes off to war in the army, loses his legs over in Iraq or Afghanistan. They keep retconning it. Originally it was Vietnam. That's how long ago it was, but they keep retconning it. And he bonds with a Venom symbiote, or the Venom symbiote, which gives him his legs back, but then he's basically a Venom soldier. And so I think the thoughts of making a film like that would be cool if it could be one they would actually do in a Spider-Man movie, because it's an established Tom Holland character, but we'll see. That would be in 616 if they did it that way. But yeah, there's gotta be something, because these, like you said.
Oh, I know what's gonna come next, Charlie. What? Dr. Payne and Electric Venom.
Electric Venom. Oh, Dr. Mayhem and like the Muppets. Dr. Venom.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
My goodness.
So at this point, Tom Hardy said his time with Venom is done. So
okay, good for him. Move on.
Regardless of that, the movies have been pretty successful, not critically, but yeah, we're done with this. Then we've got Craven, and then after that, nothing else
Yeah.
except for, from a movie perspective, we do
Right.
have
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse, and then we do have Spider-Man Noir. That
Right.
is all the projects that are Sony
Right.
or Sony related
Right.
versus the Marvel stuff. that we know.
So the question is, what is, and you're the wheeler and dealer with this kind of stuff, what is Sony's legal hold on the Spider-Man character? When does it end? When does it get renegotiated?
It's perpetuity. It's in perpetuity, meaning forever, as long as they make a movie every so often. So at this point, I don't think the Spider-Man Marvel movie counts because it is actually produced by Marvel. So that's why it makes sense that Marvel or Sony keeps doing this, because they want to keep the moneymaker. So we're gonna get more films
Right.
unless Marvel absorbs Sony, which I don't know if will happen. I mean, that's probably the only way it could happen.
Right.
If they take over like Sony Pictures. But of course, they make a lot of money from the video games too.
Right. Who knows? So, but yeah, like you said, there's nothing on the horizon that is going to be I mean, they took quite a kick in the balls over Madam Web. There's no doubt about it. Craven will probably be no great shakes, but I would say of the first three films, I remember a little bit about the first movie that was with Michelle Williams, I think, and the villain was one of the Rogue One guys, if I'm not mistaken. And then the second film with Woody was it was abysmal. It couldn't even hold my attention in the theater. That's how bad it was. And this was dumb, but it had some fun moments.
It's goofy. But I mean, you just have to be along for the ride of it just being a weird movie.
It just didn't really stack in any way, shape, or form. So, all right. So 1 out of 10 severed heads bitten off by Venom. What do you give this one?
Oh, you know what? I will give this one a solid 5 out of 10. I mean, if it's in the Venom scale, not a bad Venom film, but it's still a bad film. But I'll give it a 5 out of 10 for just being what it is, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Very bad. I thought the special effects were decent.
I mean, you can tell how decent the special effects are sometimes by the length of the credits, and these credits were very, very long.
Oh God. Yeah.
I felt like
I was going to pee my pants waiting for the end happening.
I got up and went to the bathroom during the credits and came back and still had plenty of time.
I should have probably done that instead.
Yeah. I did, just because we were sitting at the theater was just 2 doors down, so it was nice and easy. Or the bathroom was 2 doors down. So yeah, I'll give it a 6. It was I'll give it a 6 just because it was I feel in some way, shape, or form an improvement over the previous one, but still dumb. But you know what? Sony's getting their money out of it. Good for them for at least if they're not investing in the story, at least they're investing in the look of it, which is of course the same argument that you and I have had about the Avatar films. It's a great look. There's no story.
I like the second one. Yeah, the first one, it's a repeat of the same old.
Yeah. It's Pocahontas with blue people. Got it. All right. Well, that's the show, friends. As always, thank you for joining us. We have a rocking good time no matter what we do. Todd, where do people find you out there?
They find me on Twitter, or actually Threads, at Toxtra, at Secret Friends Unite, and then you can follow me on the Discord, always posting stuff there. Yes,
same here. Threads and Instagram. I am at the C3, TheCeeThree. Very, very big on our Discord. My wife and I also run a Discord for Star Trek people called the United Trekkers of Michigan, where we'd love to talk about things related to Star Trek. But I always forget to mention, and I try to do this over on Code 47, we do have a mailbag over at secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Drop us a line. Tell us what you're thinking about this show, any of our shows. If you love the Venom movies and we're way off base, write us a note and we will likely read it on the show, because we would like to hear definitely more for the people that are.
This is email anymore, Charlie. I think I've not gotten a real email from someone in 10 years.
Like an actual someone writes you a personal note.
Like an actual correspondence of any type.
Well, you know what? We're not looking for correspondence. We want a one-sided note where somebody tells us what they think.
Just DM us or tag us on Instagram or Threads.
If that's easy, whatever it takes. But like Captain America said, whatever it takes. But with that, I will bid you a fine fair do. I will tell you as always that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
We are Venom. Venom.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.